Queens of Kingdom. Today I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm going to do a get ready with me story time, but not story time like you've known before. So this was birthed out of a Bible study that Queens of Kingdom does every Thursday night at 7 p.m. If you're interested in joining, it's just a group of girls. We just get really transparent. We go into our word and we encourage each other and support each other, and it's just been really, really fruitful, especially in this time that we're in quarantine. So this video idea was birthed out of this. So we were telling some stories in the Bible, and we were kind of remembering stories in the Bible, and one of my friends, Arlen, she just kept getting the characters mixed up, and it was really funny, and we were just having a little joke about it. But I thought, why not tell some stories from the Bible whilst doing something that I love as well, which is makeup. So that's my kind of side hustle slash just passion. I just love doing makeup, love doing my own makeup, love doing other people's makeup, and I thought it'd be like a good way to kind of listen to the stories of the Bible and also just engage with them in a different kind of way. So today I'm going to be doing my makeup whilst relaying the story of Esther in the Bible. And if some of you guys have been following my channel for a while, you'll know that Esther is one of my favourite characters in the Bible. The book of Esther was one of the books that kind of led me to start this channel, and Esther's just like been my ride or die since then. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay guys, so I went ahead and started my eyebrows just because I can't really talk while I do them. But the beginning of the story takes us to the king Xerxes at the time, and this king was he had a wife called Queen Vashti, and he absolutely loved her beauty. She was a very beautiful queen, and there was a celebration at the time, and so Queen Vashti had her own celebration in her own quarters with women, I believe, and King Xerxes had his own celebration with his like wise men and men from the land and things like that. So towards the end of the celebrations, the king asked his wife Vashti to come and show her beauty to all of the people that he had with him. And Queen Vashti, she said no. She was like, no man, I'm not coming. I don't really know as to why she didn't come, but she disobeyed the king, and obviously everyone that he was with was there to witness that disobeying, and he was like fuming. He was like, wow, like what should I do? So he asked like his wise counsel what he should do, and they said, you know, you got to banish her, man. Like she can't just be like disrespecting you like that. So he was fuming, and he banished Queen Vashti, which meant that he had no queen at the current time. So after a while, when he cooled off, he was like, rah, you know, she embarrassed me in front of all my friends. Like, I need a new queen, innit? So in order for him to redeem himself, I'm sure, and amongst other things, he wanted a new queen. So what he did was he called like his people, and he said to them, do you know what, yeah, I need you guys to go out, find me some eligible bachelorettes, and I'll see who I can make my queen. So they went and they found like all the virgins in the land, and they prepared them to meet the king. So all the virgins in the land were then like preparing, and they had to go through these different rituals in order to, you know, see the king. And one of these beautiful women was called Hadassah, and another one of her names was called Esther. And this is who we know as Queen Esther. Queen Esther, well, before she was queen, just Esther, she was known for her beauty among the land. Like, she was a very, very beautiful woman. She was very kind, and she was just like gorgeous. Her upbringing, she was an orphan, and she lost her parents, which meant that, you know, she was raised by her cousin. So her cousin is called Mordecai, and Esther was actually a Jew, and I'm not sure at the time whether Jews were like supposed to be queens. Like from the text, I don't believe that they were. So she was a Jew, and during this like trial process of going towards, you know, being queen, her cousin Mordecai, who was basically her father figure, told her, do not tell anybody that you are Jewish. Don't tell them of your ancestry, don't tell them of your descent, just go and do what you're doing, innit? So as she was preparing to become queen or even go and meet the king, she was looked upon favorably by the like people who prepared you to go for like these rituals and stuff. And so I think they like super prepared her, and they were just really, really good to her, which was lovely. So it came for a time like after, I think it was like a year of preparation. Don't quote me, I want you guys to go ahead and read the story yourself as well. But yeah, after like a year or so of preparation, she was then able to go and lay with the king. So I think that means, you know, getting jiggy. So she was able to go and lay with him, and after, you know, all her preparation and everything like that, the king like really, really loved her, and he was just like, nah, like I think, you know, this one is the one. Like she's very paying still, like I'm really feeling the kid. So, you know, out of all of the women that he laid with, Esther was his favorite, and so he said, you know, I'm gonna make Esther my queen. Like she's gonna be my queen because she's absolutely gorgeous and I just love her. Like he just really, really took favor upon her, and so Esther became queen. So Esther's cousin Mordecai, he was a Jew, and he would sometimes like be at the gate, outside the castle. I don't know if it's castle, palace, whatever, but he would stand by the gate, and the king had gate guards who would also, you know, be by the gate. And one day Mordecai was by the gate, and he heard two of the king's men planning to assassinate him. You know, they were like, I'm done with this king, like he's moving a bit mad, not trying to like see the king prosper and all of that. So they said that they were going to kill the king, and obviously Mordecai heard this, and he was like, bruh, this ain't right, you know, like I gotta tell somebody. So obviously Mordecai had his I guess cousin, but we'll call him called daughter, because they had a father and daughter relationship, but if we're accurate, it was his cousin. He had his cousin, and she was obviously the queen. So he went and told her, and Esther told the king, and it turned out to be true. And so Mordecai had saved the king's life, and that was that. Like Mordecai was a really good guy, you know, he's not trying to have any beef, he's not trying to do anything. He saved the king's life. So this was really important for what happened further on down the line. But for now, you know, he was just very grateful, and that was it. Mordecai now saved the king. There was one of the king's advisors, and he was like quickly became one of the king's like trusted advisors, and his name was Haman. And this guy Haman was very pompous, very full of himself. He really, really loved himself, and he believed that, you know, he should be seen as something that was great among men. So this guy was very close to the king, and, you know, he was really, really full of himself, but he was an up man. Like, he just wanted everyone to bow down to him, and these times the man is not king himself, he's just the king's advisor, but he really, really thinks so highly of himself that he thinks that everyone in the land should bow down to him. So what he does is he makes a decree that, you know, everyone should bow down to him. And Mordecai, who's a Jew who serves our one and only living God, said, well, no, I'm not going to bow down to you, because my Lord, I only bow down to my Lord. I don't bow down to other gods, you know, there's no false gods in my kingdom. And he is fuming. He is like, who does this guy think he is, that he thinks that he's not going to bow down to me? Like, I'm not having it one bit. And so he instantly just has it out for Mordecai, and then he just has it out for the Jews in general, because he knows that Mordecai is a Jew, and he knows that it's against Jewish customs to worship another human being, you know, that's not God. So what he does is he goes to the king and he's like, do you know what, king? There's some ops in your land, you know, even though we know that that Haman is the biggest op. He's going to tell the king that there's bare ops in the kingdom that just don't want the king to prevail, you know. And so he says to the king, like, what are we going to do about these ops, please? Like, because they're moving a bit mad. And the king is like, oh, like, what do you think we should do with these ops? Because I'm like, you know, you're the one that's down there, you know what's going on, you know what the best thing is to do. So, you know, the king allows him to, you know, make a law, and this law says that, you know, anyone who doesn't bow down, like all the Jews, they have to be killed. You know, and he has a certain day, like they do something called casting lots, which kind of like determines what day something should be done and how it should be done. So they cast lots now, and I think it's the 7th of March, but again, don't quote me. That is the day that all the Jews in the land should be killed and will be killed by the people in the land, like different people in the land. Decree is signed and it's sent all around the land, and you know, this is basically like signing off genocide of the Jews. And you know, all the Jews find out that on this particular day they're all going to be killed, and you know, all their enemies have like free reign over them. So obviously all the Jews are really, really scared and upset, rightly so. And you know, they tear their clothes, they're severely distressed, they're mourning. And Esther heard of this, obviously, with Mordecai, which is basically her father figure, and she's like, she sends him clothes and is like, you know, here's clothes, like, what's going on? He refuses them, and then she sends one of her trusted advisors to go and find out what is going on. So they go to Mordecai and they say, you know, Mordecai, what's wrong? Like, why are you tearing your clothes? Like, why are you mourning? And he tells Esther everything that's going on. He says, send this word to Esther. Like, it's a madness. Like, they're trying to kill us. There's absolutely craziness going on in the land right now. So Esther hears of this and she's devastated. And you know, he begs her. He says, you know, you're the queen. Like, tell your husband, beg, plead for mercy. Like, you know, we're your people. Like, we want to be saved from this. Like, we cannot be killed like this. So Esther comes back and says, you know, Mordecai, like, I can't speak to the king because, you know, anyone that goes in front of the king without him calling them is sentenced to death straight away unless he holds out his scepter. So, you know, like, unless the king held out his scepter, if she just went to the king and was like, hey, husband, he'd be like, why you come to talk to me? Dead that, and just kill her. So that's scary. Like, Esther was like, it's a bit of a sneaky one still. So yeah, it was a bit of a sticky one. But Mordecai said, wow, like, you know, don't think for a second that if you don't go and speak to the king that we will not be delivered. God is going to deliver us either way. But do you know whether you were called for such a time as this? Woo! One of my favorite bars in the Bible, honestly, because he says, you know, you don't know whether you were placed in this kingdom for such a time as this. You might have been called just for this particular time. To Mordecai, and she says, do you know what? You're absolutely right. Like, you're absolutely right. Like, these are my people, you know. And to this day, like, and up until this time, the king still doesn't know that Esther's a Jew. Like, he doesn't know. And, you know, I feel like there was so much purpose in that and so much reason for that, do you know what I mean, leading up until this point. So, you know, she says to Mordecai, tell everybody that you know, every Jew that you can think of, everyone, to fast with me for 3 days. And then I will go to the king, and I will go to the king on behalf of my people. I will go to the king even though it's against the law. And if I perish, I perish. And again, if you guys have been watching my videos, you will know that that is one of my favourite verses in the Bible. You know, God has sent us out into this world. And you know what? We just have to sometimes say, do you know what? If I perish, I perish. If something happens to me, something happens to me. But I know that I've done exactly what I need to do, exactly what I've been called to do, exactly what is required of me in this time in my life. So she does just that. She fasts for 3 days with her maids. All the Jews fast with her for 3 days. And then she goes in front of the king. And as she goes in front of the king, as she goes in front of the king, she walks up to the king, and obviously at that moment, as soon as she walks up to him, he can kill her. He can say, you know, it's time to die. See ya. But the king doesn't do that. He welcomes her. You know, the king really, really loves Esther. And I just love the fact that she took the time out to fast before she went to him, because it just shows that, you know, she submitted it to God before anything else, before anyone else. She went to God and she said, you know what? If I perish, I perish, but at least I know that I've done so, you know, with God's blessing. I've gone to God and I've said, you know what, this is my time. Like, whatever is my time, it's my time, but I know that I've been called by you to be here on behalf of my people. So she's gone to the king now, and she hasn't straight away asked for exactly what it is that she wants. She hasn't straight away gone to the king and been like, oh, hey king, you know, by the way, you're about to kill all my people, like you've signed a decree to kill all my people, can you free them? She says to the king, can you please come to a banquet that I've prepared for you, and yeah, and then we'll talk. So she invites the king to the banquet. The king is obviously really happy, you know, he's gone to a banquet with his favourite bae. So invites Haman to this banquet too, and obviously Haman is the op who has ordained for this to happen. So it's like, okay, cool. So she's now at dinner with not only her husband, but also the op who's making all of this happen. So what do we do here? So while she's at dinner with them, you know, she doesn't say anything yet about, you know, why she even wants the king to speak to the king. And the king asks her, like, you know, what's going on? Like, what do you want? Like, you know, I will give you anything. Like, he loves her so much, and, you know, she's his favorite, and, you know, she's basically redeemed him. Do you know what I mean? Like, first he was with someone who just wasn't trying to respect the king. She wasn't really, you know, doing what a queen should do. But Esther, she's really just like, she's called me out here to cook for me. Like, come on, what man doesn't want that? So obviously now she's called him out to, you know, come to this banquet. Haman's there, and he's obviously thinking, rah, like, even queen likes me, like, everyone loves me, everyone's feeling me. And obviously Haman doesn't know either that Esther is a Jew. So it's all news to everybody. Nobody knows that Esther is a Jew but Esther right now. So Esther says, you know, I don't want anything right now. I just want you to know that I just want you to come to a second banquet that I'm going to do tomorrow. And I want you to, then I'll tell you what's really going on. I'll tell you what's up. So on his way home now, Haman's gassed. He's thinking, rah, queen loves me, king loves me, everybody loves me, like I'm just doing the most, I'm the best. And he's Mordecai at the gate again, and he's fuming because he just hates Mordecai. Like, Mordecai would not bow down to him, and he's nobody's king, he's nobody's, like, nobody should worship him, but he believes for some reason that Mordecai should worship him. So he's fuming because Mordecai doesn't worship him. And he's seen Mordecai on his way home, and he's saying to the queen, I mean, he's saying to his wife when he gets home, he's like, oh, baby, you know, the queen invited me to dinner today, like, you know, but that Mordecai, he's just irritating me, like, he's making me so angry, like, I don't understand why he doesn't bow down to me, why he doesn't respect me, like, what should I do? So his family, they're all like, oh, do you know what you should do? You should build a big pole and you should impale him on the pole. You should kill him. And that will show him. And so this guy with his big head, he goes and he makes this big pole to go and impale Mordecai. So he's preparing for Mordecai's death. The same very night that he's proposing that Mordecai gets killed is the same exact night that the king is like disturbed in his slumber. You know, he can't sleep and he's like, do you know what, yeah? Do you know what would be a good thing to read while I can't sleep right now? A good thing for me to read would be all the things that have happened during my reign as king. So as he goes to read this now, he remembers that Mordecai saved his life and he's like, bro, this guy really saved my life. And he asks his servant who he told him to bring him the book, he says, Ra, did we do anything for this man that saved my life? And the servant says, no, we didn't do anything. So later the next morning, Mordecai comes, not Mordecai, sorry, Haman comes and he's like, the king asks Haman, because obviously he trusts Haman, he thinks Haman is a good guy. And he's like, Haman, what should I do for someone who really has been there for me? Really, I want to honor them. I'm really happy about the things that they've done. And, you know, I really want to, you know, show everyone that I appreciate this person. So Haman gets gassy. He's thinking in his head, raw, king is clearly talking about me, king likes me, queen loves me, like every day I'm being invited to banquets, now they're asking how can they honor me, jeez. And then he's like to them, you know what, I think you should, you know, put on the king's robes. You should make them wear the king's robes. You should parade them and say, this is the person that I'm well pleased with. Like, make sure everyone in the land knows that this person is untouchable and the king loves them. Then the king says, hear what, yeah, you're right. Go and get Mordecai and do everything you just said for him. Hey, can you imagine? Shame. Let the rain fall on my enemy. That's what Jesus said. Jesus wasn't even there yet, but that's what God said. He said, okay, I'm gonna let the rain fall on my enemies. So, you know, Mordecai is summoned, and everything that Haman just said to the king, which he thought was gonna be done for himself, was now done for Mordecai. And to add salt into the wound, like, he was the one that had to do it, which is just hilarious to me. When God turns it around, he says, look, 360. He was like, no ma'am, you're not about to make a fool out of me and my children, no way. So God turned it around and he said, you know what, this is what you're gonna do for my child. So after this, you know, Haman goes home and he's fuming and he's so disgraced, and obviously his family and people are like, look, this person clearly is blessed. They too blessed, like, you can't be touching them no more. So, you know, they say, you know, all the plans that you had for Mordecai, like, I don't think you can still do them, you know, like, I think you need to chill. So he's obviously like deflated, he's upset, and then he quickly gets summoned for, you know, dinner with the queen and the king. So my man's thinking, oh man, not again, not now, like, this is not even what I'm trying to do right now, like, I'm not really in the mood, but he has to. And obviously, you know what, yeah, like, the way he's moving, I don't even know if he knows that Mordecai, yeah, no, I don't think they know, because obviously they don't know yet that Queen Esther is a Jew, so I'm pretty sure they don't know that Mordecai is her uncle, because, like, they've kept everything secret. So obviously up until now, everything's still a secret, and, you know, Mordecai is still, like, not known that he's Esther Esther's uncle or cousin. So he's obviously like unaware of everything. And so Esther now finally sits down with her king, and Haman's there, obviously embarrassed, but still not kind of knowing why he's at the banquet. Maybe still even thinking, you know, at least the queen likes me. And then the king finally asks his queen, like, come on queen, like, tell me, what is going on? Like, why did you call me for this dinner? Then the queen says, oh, you know,
I've got an op. I've got an adversary and he's sitting right there. He's tried to kill my people. Like, please save my people. Like, you're about to kill all my people. He wanted to kill my father figure. He wanted to impale him on this big, like, stick.
Like, please. So obviously the king is fuming, and he just storms out for a little bit because he needs some air, do you know what I mean? Like, he just needs to collect his thoughts and see what's really going on, like what's really going on right now. So he goes out to collect his thoughts. So as he's out to collect his thoughts, Haman knows it's it. He knows it's it, like he's about to die. So he's thinking, how can I save myself right now? What can I do to save myself right now? So he goes to Queen Esther, and he's just like, Esther, please, queen. And as he's falling at the queen's feet, I imagine that he's probably like grabbing up her feet or something. The king comes in and he's fuming. He's like, you dare touch my wife, like in my presence, in my own kingdom, you're gonna try and touch my wife? Like, are you mad? Like, what else can you do to my wife and her people? Like, you'll not come and defile my wife, like in my own throne room. So he tells him, so he sentenced him to be impaled on the very same thing that he wanted to impale Mordecai on. Can you imagine? Look at justice. So, you know, he gets impaled exactly where he wanted to impale Mordecai, and you know, that was that for him. But because the decree has already been signed and authorized by the king, there was no way to particularly like reverse that decree. Like, it cannot be reversed. But what he did was he gave Mordecai his signet ring, and he said to Mordecai, whatever you need to do to save your people, like, do it. Like, I'm giving you the free reins to do it. Like, I want you to do it. I want you to save my queen's people, and I want you guys to be okay. So obviously he's like taking the ring now. Mordecai's like thought of what he can do to save his people, and what he was able to do was to say that on that same day that all the Jews had been ordered to kill, the Jews were able to defend themselves, and they were able to fight back all of their adversaries. And so this decree was passed all over the land, and a lot of people became scared of this decree. You know, they saw this decree and they became scared. They were saying, you know, I want to become a Jew now, because I just think that, you know, these Jews, they've got mad power. Like, something's about to go down. Like, something's looking like it's gonna pop off. So the day finally came for, you know, the Jews to fight back, and also for the adversaries to come against them. And some of their adversaries, you know, they thought, you know what, yeah, we're still gonna win, we're gonna try and kill these Jews. But the Jews prevailed over the people. They prevailed over the people, and many people were killed by the Jews. And so I think there was, I'm not really sure, I can't really remember exactly how the conversation between the king and Mordecai went, but Mordecai asked the king for another day that the Jews will be able to, you know, have dominion over their adversaries, and the king gave it to him. So there was another day of like battle, I guess, and the Jews were able to, you know, win over their adversaries, and they were able to celebrate that day for years to come. And this was all out of Esther's obedience. And after that, obviously, Mordecai was held to really high esteem. The king was a really successful king, and, you know, the Jews loved him. And, you know, it was just a really positive time for the Jews. And Esther really just shows us so much like grace and faith and obedience, especially in the face of like what looks like the impossible. And I think for me, that story is one of my favorite in the Bible, because it really shows us that, you know, there's some books in the Bible where God is not explicitly mentioned. Like this one is one of the stories in the Bible where God is really not specifically mentioned. We don't hear really, you know, God's name mentioned. We don't really hear, you know, God speaking to anyone. We don't even hear the revelation that they received from their fasting. But we understand in every single part of the story that God is the center and God remains the first and the last, the beginning and the end, because the whole reason why the people were in the sticky situation that they were in was because that Mordecai refused to bow down to Haman, because Haman was not his God. Why is he bowing down to someone who is not his God? And you know what, like we see, you know, we can say, oh, Esther's so like brave and everything like that, but we see her humanity in the fact that when she's first asked to deliver her people, she basically says no, like I'm scared, like I could die. You know, her first thoughts are what could potentially happen to her. But then after that, you know, she says, as soon as her uncle says, you know, you might have been called for such a time as this, she believes it and she says, do you know what, yeah, I may have been called for such a time as this, and I'll go to the king on behalf of my people, and if I perish, I perish, you know. She has that boldness, and I think for me, like, that's my biggest takeaway from this the book of Esther. Like, I just love the fact that she's so bold, and, you know, she doesn't have fear. She goes ahead and she does what it is that she's been called to do, and she goes there with wisdom, because clearly we see that, you know, she fasted for 3 days, and she didn't just after the fast just go and talk to her husband and say, do you know what, yeah, this is what's going on, this is what I need from you. No, she has wisdom, and she says, you know what, I'm going to do a banquet. We don't explicitly see that, you know, God told her to do this, but I'm like 90% sure that, you know, she received the word and she received that wisdom, and even if she didn't receive an explicit word, she received wisdom. That fast consecrated her, and it allowed her to receive wisdom. She was able to receive wisdom as and when to move, as and what to do. Because even in the text it says, you know, on the 3rd day of the fast, that's when she went. You know, for me, I would particularly think, you know, 3 days of fasting and then you go. But she went, you know, on the 3rd day of the fasting, that's when she went to approach the king. So it makes you think that, yes, she was receiving wisdom, and it wasn't just her that was fasting. You know, she had a tribe around her that fasted with her. You know, I think that's something else that this story really, really teaches us. It's really important, you know, when we're going and we're doing things and we're feeling like, you know, we need an answer from God, or we need a move from God, or we even need God's favor, because clearly she was so favored by God in this king's eyes. She was so favored that we should have a tribe around us. You know, are we actually going to our friends and saying, you know, I'm struggling with this right now, or I have an assignment coming up, or I have something coming up, and I need you to be in agreement with me? Can you imagine the power of, you know, every single Jew fasting with her, even her maids fasting with her. Her maids, that I'm assuming, I don't know if they were Jews or not, maybe they weren't, but they fasted with her, they supported her, they lifted her up, they carried her, you know, because this was not something that she could have done alone. Alone, she may have cowered. She may have said, you know what, yeah, it's not worth it. I'm scared. I cannot go to the king. Because as much as this was her husband, it wasn't like husband and wife like our day. Look at Vashti. She said no. Maybe she had period pain. Maybe she was sad. Maybe something was going on with her. But because she said simple no to one simple king, she was banished from the land. So you're telling me that Esther now wants to be taking such chances? I can imagine the fear in Esther and how much, you know, she really did not know whether she would come out of this okay. You know, whether this would be something that would leave her broken, would leave her desolate, would leave her killed, you know, would leave her people killed, you know. We don't even know whether Jews were allowed to be the queen. Obviously, she had so much favor from the king. He didn't even question the fact that she had not told him before that she was a Jew. He didn't even question the fact that, you know, she hadn't spoken about it to him before. love that her first thought, her first reaction was, let's go to God, let's petition, and then let's move, you know, because a lot of the time we might get an idea or we might think something's great and we might just go. And yeah, sometimes it's good to have, you know, that passion and that drive, but, sorry guys, but speak to him first. Has he said okay? Has he said it's cool? Has he told you to move? Has he allowed you to take that step? You know, have you spoken to him? Have you asked? Have you petitioned? God put people in your life that will help you, that will check you, that will fast with you, that will pray with you. For me, that is a beautiful thing. And I think that, you know, Esther was very, very blessed, and Esther was very, very brave, because a lot of us wouldn't do it. We'll just say, do you know what, yeah, like, it's okay, at least one of us will survive, and then my kids will be the Jews. Do you know what I mean? Or you just die. And that's the thing as well, we learn a lot from what Mordecai said to her. Mordecai had so much faith in the Lord, and he had so much faith in, you know, his people and God, and God's love for his people, that he said, you know what, Esther, don't you dare think for a minute that you won't die and your people won't die, and that we will not be delivered by some other means. He knew that they will be delivered some way or somehow, but he also knew that there was a reason, there was always a reason for every single part that he had to play in Esther's life, and that God had placed her in every single place for a reason, and that God had given her favor in every single place for a reason. I don't believe that, especially from the nuances of the text, that Esther was the only wife that the king picked, but she was his favorite. He called her down to lay with him twice. I just think that's amazing. For me, that's mind-blowing, and that's so cool, and this is why it's one of my favorite stories in the Bible. Guys, this is a completed look, and if you couldn't tell, I tried to make the look inspired by the story that I told today. So obviously this is kind of a purpley, pinky, regal gold eye look for representing my babes, Queen Esther, and obviously the headband gives me kind of like old school queen vibes, so I hope you guys like it. I really enjoyed filming this. It was a bit long, but comment down below whether you'd like them to be shorter or longer, because I want to make a whole series of these. I think I might do snippets of King David next, but yeah, also comment down below what stories you might like me to do as well, and what looks you'd like me to do. But yeah, I really love doing this. It helps me put together my two passions, which is God and makeup. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And yeah, if you're interested in the Bible study, let me know. Also, I'll put all the products that I used for this week down below. Please like, share, subscribe, and just interact with me. Like, I'm back after such a long time. I'm so excited to get started again. I'm so excited to be obedient again. I'll have another video coming out in a little bit to let you guys know like where I've been and what's been going on. But I love you so much. I just pray that this video would touch someone's heart, and it would just ignite the fire to go and read the word again. And I love you all. God bless you.